So this thing right here, the DJI Osmo Pocket, has been out for, I'd say, probably around 2 months now, and the hype has definitely died down. So let's talk about this thing after all the excitement. So I have to get the obligatory comment out of the way about just how small this thing is, and everything that DJI has fit into this small package is incredible, but I think its size definitely leads to a few downfalls. The ergonomic handle of larger gimbals actually makes them easier to use in my opinion because there's more to hold, but you can't go comparing a consumer $350 gimbal that can fit into your pocket to a larger platform that can hold a DSLR. It really just wouldn't be fair. With that being said, I took a step back when shooting with this gimbal over the past couple of months. So instead of trying to make it what it's not and shoot professional style footage that I like to upload here onto my YouTube channel, I use this as the average consumer. I used it to shoot videos for social media sites like Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, just to share with other people through like my stories and through tweets and Facebook posts. I also had to do the obligatory chasing my dog around with this gimbal, but I actually found out by doing that it actually handles some pretty severe shaking, especially when you're trying to run really fast. And when I say running fast, I by no means am a fast individual, but as I was running down my hallway, I really wasn't trying to keep the Osmo Pocket still, but the gimbal did all the work for me and gave me very smooth footage. Before I get into things like the pros and the cons and also the real world testing of the Osmo Pocket, I figured we'd go over the design, the build quality, as well as some of the important specs. Starting things off here with the small design, the front features 2 buttons, one to record and one that acts as a multifunction button, a small status indicator, a microphone, a built-in LCD screen, and these small connector pins which are used to connect your smartphone or other accessories like the controller wheel. The rest of the device is pretty bare, with the only other forms of I/O being the micro SD card slot on the left side and the USB-C port on the bottom used to charge and transmit data to the Osmo Pocket. Just a quick side note on that built-in screen, I'm pretty impressed with how fluid the menus react as you swipe through, and some of the more important settings and modes are easy to access, but my biggest complaint is that because of the aspect ratio, it cuts off the sides of the preview when shooting video. I wish that they would just letterbox the video so I can tell what's in frame and what isn't. That would make things a lot easier. The rest of the Osmo Pocket's body is made of a soft touch plastic, which keeps this device light to hold and light in the pocket, and it comes in this small case that was designed nicely as it accommodates a cutout for your Lightning or USB-C connector, access to the SD card, as well as a cutout for charging when not in use. It delivers a perfect blend of protection and speed for when you need to take the pocket out for a quick shot. To knock out the specs of this device real quick, its camera features a 1x2/3 inch sensor that can take 12 megapixel photos and can shoot 4K video up to 60 frames per second, which probably makes a lot of people happy, including myself. The maximum frame rate of the Osmo Pocket is 120 frames per second when shooting in 1080p, so you can shoot slow motion footage of fast moving action. And also, another thing worth noting, the max bitrate is 100 megabits per second. The aperture on this camera is a fixed f2.0, which should let in a decent amount of light if you'll be shooting in low light situations. I myself have found that it does all right. Now here's something that is important to note, and that is that this device shoots raw photos at a resolution of 4000 by 3000 pixels. So even though it is aimed at the everyday person, you can still edit those .dng files to their fullest potential. This camera reminds me a lot of that on the Mavic 2 Zoom or the original Mavic Pro, as they feature a lot of the same specs. The final thing that I want to note about the camera is the 80-degree field of view, which doesn't give you very much to work with, but we'll discuss more about that later in the video. Now the battery capacity is 875 milliamp hours, which gives the Osmo Pocket a battery life rated for 140 minutes or 2 hours and 20 minutes, but this is a statistic measured when shooting 1080p video at 30 frames per second. Considering I shoot 4K all of the time and I bounce back and forth between 30 and 60 frames per second, I've found myself getting, I'd say, less than that, but I don't find myself shooting with this 4 hours at a time. It's more of like 5-minute segments here and there, which makes it hard to gauge. Also, I shoot a ton of time lapses with the Osmo Pocket. Those can take sometimes 3 or 4 hours, and I found that about 1 hour of time lapse will drain like 45% of battery. So what I do is I plug it into an external battery source or an external power source if I've got an outlet nearby. That USB-C port really makes the battery easy to charge up on a whim if you need to, whether you've got an external battery on you or again you've got an outlet right next to you. It charges up pretty fast, and the universal USB-C port makes it very easy. So I've had no problem with battery life so far. Okay, so now that all of the boring number stuff is out of the way, it's time to get into the cool things that the Osmo Pocket can do. And the first thing might come as a shock, like you might not think that it's as cool as I do, but you can shoot with the Osmo Pocket in different orientations. So you can shoot normally, horizontally, just like any other camera. You can shoot vertically, which is a huge help for shooting smooth Instagram stories or Snapchat stories. And finally, you can shoot in the underslung mode, which is helpful for, say, when I'm on my boosted board and I want to get the camera low to the ground. I have never personally used this thing for photos, but that's just because at that point I would use my phone. This device was really designed to shoot smooth videos. Another thing that might be pretty obvious but is impressive to me is how fast you can take this thing out of your pocket to begin shooting photos and videos. It starts up really quickly. So I carry this around with me almost every single minute of every single day. It lives inside of my sweatshirt pocket, and it takes me about 5 or 6 seconds to get it out, take it out of its case, and begin shooting that very first video. Again, I don't use this as like a professional filmmaker. I don't expect that from this device. I use it as like an everyday capture type of thing. So if it's like my dog being funny, or if it's just something funny that happened, that's what I use this for. You can't really expect professional cinematic results out of it, but I guess you sort of can use it that way if you really tried. There are things you can do to your footage, like I've done here, to make it look epically cinematic, if you want to call it that, but there are some people who have built these insane rigs to beef up this little guy's capabilities, and new firmware updates have made it easier, as now you can shoot in the D-Cinelite color setting, and you can access Pro Video Mode without needing the companion application, which lets you manually set the exposure, all things that professional filmmakers are looking for. Now, if you watching this video are a subscriber of my channel, you know that from my previous drone videos, I'm not a big fan of the intelligent flight modes, things like course lock or active track or hyperlapse, but on the DJI Osmo Pocket, it is a totally different story, as I've taken advantage of things like time lapses and panoramic photos to their fullest extent. These features actually enhance the use of my device. Now, anytime I get somewhere to shoot, I instantly set up my Osmo Pocket to take a time lapse for however long I think that I'll be there, and I've slowly become addicted to creating these moving time lapses. My end goal one day is to take a full 24-hour time lapse, although that might be a little bit tough to pull off. Nonetheless, the DJI Osmo Pocket is like my little time lapse machine. I love this thing. Alright, now let's push everything off to the side. Things like the specs of the camera, things like the D-Cinelite color profile with the color graded footage, and things like the panoramic photos and the time lapses, and just look at the raw footage off of the SD card to see how this thing performs. So this was shot in the normal color profile with automatic exposure settings and automatic white balance settings, and I've got to say that it looks great. I mean, this could pass on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, but again, it's not a professional solution to shooting video. It almost gives off like a cell phone vibe. Like if you looked at video shot on a cell phone, that's what the Osmo Pocket looks like. You can just tell when a video was taken with a smartphone. Even some of the best smartphones that can shoot the best video, like on the iPhone 10, you can just tell it was taken on an iPhone. If I showed you, like, say, side by side, Sony a7 III and the Osmo Pocket, you'd be able to tell which was which. But again, don't forget, this thing is only $350. It fits in your pocket, and I'd say it definitely passes the test, as it shoots some great video. Alright, so I think that I've pretty much covered all of the good things that come from the Osmo Pocket, all the things that I like about the device, but now let's get into some of the small complaints that I have. The first thing is something that I alluded to earlier in the video. Even though it is very small, there isn't much to hold, and it doesn't have a very ergonomic grip. For a lot of the shooting, I actually use a setup that looks like this. So my iPhone is attached to a GorillaPod, and then I had the Osmo Pocket attached via the lightning adapter. This helps when shooting time lapses and when holding the camera up to vlog or just for regular shooting purposes. I really like it just because it gives me more to hold. Here's another issue that I find the most detrimental to the Osmo Pocket, and that is the focusing of the camera. I've found a lot of times that I get back, I put the SD card in my computer, and the videos I shoot are just plain out of focus. They're pretty much unusable sometimes. This is something that happens a lot when I'm in a hurry and I just take it out of the case and I start shooting without my phone attached. Even when shooting with my phone, sometimes it's hard to tell the video is in focus or not, which is a huge issue considering the autofocus has to be dead on with a run and gun device like this. Sticking with the camera here, I think that one of my bigger issues is that the camera is just not wide enough. We're working with an 80-degree field of view, which is equivalent to 26 millimeters, and for a personal camera that is really built for vlogging, I always have trouble fitting things inside of the frame, whether that be something that I'm holding and trying to show in the frame, or if it's just me trying to fit myself in while holding the Osmo Pocket. You need some sort of extension to really really get some space around you instead of filling the entire frame with basically your head. The focal length definitely excels for shooting B-roll of objects, but that doesn't really help you out for what this was exactly made for, and that is vlogging and I guess personal recreational video. Alright, so I've got one more complaint about the Osmo Pocket, and it actually doesn't have to do with the device itself. It's about the accessories, or I should say the lack thereof. When the Osmo Pocket was unveiled 2 months ago, it came with a bunch of accessories alongside it, things that really enhanced its use case scenarios, but a lot of them have not come out yet. We've got things like the wireless module sitting behind me. It allows you to use your phone wirelessly. You can connect them wirelessly, which makes things a lot easier. Also, you've got the scroll wheel, that's kind of meh, and also you've got the GoPro mount, so you can actually mount the Osmo Pocket to GoPro accessories, but we don't have a lot of the things that I was really looking forward to, things like the waterproof housing, things like that selfie control stick, and also the charging tube case that allows you to hold a lot of the accessories and also charge your Osmo Pocket on the go. So right now, there's really not all that many accessories out, at least at the time of shooting this video, and I would love to see those accessories come out at least before the summertime, because I know that when I'm outside, I'll be using the Pocket like almost every single day. Now, besides all those complaints that I had, the Osmo Pocket is a great first generation product, and also the Mimo app is awesome. I mean, a lot of people complain about the DJI Go app for their drones, but the Mimo app, in my opinion, is flawless. I've had no issues with it, and it also packs a lot of different features inside, and above all, it is clean. The UI is perfect. Also, we see that DJI is committed to upgrading this product as it goes. So we've got updates that actually introduce the D-Cinelike color profile, which is huge, especially if you want to take your shooting game to the next level and color grade your footage. So things are looking good for the DJI Osmo Pocket. I can't wait to see what comes next with this generation of Osmo, because again, we're getting these firmware updates that make it better, and I'd say that after the hype, it definitely does live up to the hype. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, I'll talk to you later. Peace.